Hello, we are Group 8 and we will be presenting on wild Mustang roundups and slaughter. I am Anne-Marie and my partner is Rachel. We will be arguing on behalf of the for side. We will be informing you on why roundups and slaughter are necessary for the prosperity of America's wild Mustangs. The Bureau of Land Management is an agency within the United States Department of Interior created to sustain the health, diversity, and productivity of America's public lands for the multiple use and enjoyment of present and future generations. Under its many jurisdictions, the BLM is able to determine the number of wild horses and burros that will exist in balance with other public rangeland species, resources, and uses in a given area. The appropriate management level for a healthy rangeland is a population under 27,000. Wild horses originated in North America but went extinct from the continent some 10,000 to 12,000 years ago. Then in the 1600s, the Spanish explorers brought domesticated horses back to America, some of which got loose and turned into the Mustangs we have today. From there, the horses traveled with the settlers to the west in the 1800s. From then on, wild horses have become a thing of the norm in the western states since those early settlers. Wild horses and burros can be found in Arizona, California, Colorado, Idaho, Montana, Nevada, New Mexico, Oregon, Utah, and Wyoming. Ranchers in these states began to complain about the wild horses, saying that they were a problem and messing with their crops and other farm animals. The horses became such a nuisance that the ranchers started taking matters into their own hands. Before 1971, Mustangers hunted and harvested the wild horses for commercial purposes. They used trucks and whips to get the horses to move the desired way onto the trucks and sold them to slaughterhouses in the United States and other countries. This became such a popular venture that the wild Mustang numbers were significantly reduced. Public outcry spurred Congress to pass a bill called the Wild Free Roaming Horses and Burros Act, and it was signed by Richard Nixon on December 15, 1971. Numbers steadily increased with the passing of the law. By 2004, 37,000 wild horses roamed throughout the 10 western states. The Wild Free Roaming Horses and Burros Act was then revised to allow excess animals to be removed and available for sale without limitation. This amendment gave the Bureau of Land Management the authority to sell the horses to someone who would send them to slaughter. Numbers were reduced to 31,000 by 2005. In 2007, the Mustang had been further reduced down to 25,000. From then on, 27,000 was deemed the appropriate management level for the Mustang population by the Bureau of Land Management. However, in 2007, public opinion influenced the government to eliminate funding for inspection of horse slaughterhouse facilities so they could not meet the requirements of the Federal Meat Inspection Act of 1906 and were forced to shut down. Horses were then trucked over the borders to slaughterhouses in Mexico and Canada, since there were no slaughterhouses deemed appropriate for the horses in the U.S. Because of further public outrage, Congress has written annual appropriation bills since 2010, banning humane euthanasia and the unrestricted sale of certain excess animals. These bills restrict the BLM from allowing the horses to be sent to slaughter if they want to continue to receive funding. The elimination of slaughterhouses and implementation of appropriation bills have allowed the population to grow to 73,000 as of 2017. In America, there are no longer any slaughter facilities deemed appropriate to slaughter horses. So much protesting went into getting horse slaughterhouses out of business that the public were successful within a few years. According to CBS News, in many other nations, eating horse meat is no big deal, and in some cultures, it's even considered a delicacy. Mexico, Switzerland, France, Belgium, Japan, Germany, Indonesia, Poland, and China are among the nations where many people eat horse meat without a second thought. Allowing horses to go to slaughterhouses would save the government a lot of money and would save horses from a slow and painful death. Some might ask, why would we want to slaughter horses when there is an easier solution, euthanasia? Yes, euthanasia may be the first thing people think of when they need to put an animal out of its misery, but it is not affordable to everyone. Slaughter is a better solution than euthanasia because euthanasia drugs are not safe for human consumption and are deemed unsafe by the Food and Drug Administration. Thousands of domestic horses are trucked over the borders every year to be killed for human consumption. Wild horses should be treated no differently. Since wild horses are not able to be shipped off to other countries to be consumed for their meat, there have been problems with overcrowding. Currently, not as many horses are able to be taken off the land because of limited space availability. 45,000 wild horses and burros are already in holding facilities, leaving barely any room for future horses. In fact, 60% of the BLM's $80 million budget has been going to the animals in holding. The BLM's holding facilities have a maximum capacity of 57,000, so space is limited and needs to be cleared for further gathers. The wild horses in holding cannot return to the range because they are accustomed to being fed and watered. Roundups are mainly conducted through the use of helicopters. The use of helicopters has been proven to be more humane, effective, and efficient than other types of gather methods. When conducting roundups from the air, pilots are able to keep mares and foals together and maneuver the animals safely through heavy terrain. In 2014, out of the 1,863 wild horses and burros removed, a total of 18 animals, or approximately 1%, died or were euthanized during gather operations. Of those 18, only half died or were euthanized because of acute injuries. Acute injury deaths include all animals that died or were euthanized because of trauma such as broken necks or legs. The other deaths were from pre-existing conditions such as lameness, poor body conditions, and deformities. Once the roundups are over with, the horses are checked, marked, and then placed into holding facilities that provide food and water. Horses are transferred from short-term holding corrals to long-term pastures, which are primarily large ranches located in Kansas and Oklahoma. These long-term pastures permit the horses to roam freely on approximately 289,000 acres of grassland.
I am Rachel, and I will be finishing out this presentation. From holding pens, the horses can then be repurposed. Some horses can go to correction facilities like Silver State Industries Ranch in Carson City, Nevada, where minimum security inmates gentle the horses before placing them up for adoption or sale. Not only can Mustangs be utilized in rehabilitation programs, but they can also be placed in Mustang makeover type competitions. For example, the Mustang Heritage Foundation's Extreme Mustang Makeover is a competition where trainers from across America have 100 days to display the trainability of American Mustangs in the hopes of obtaining an adopter. Horses can also go through the normal processes of adoption and sales. Roundups have given and will continue to give horses a safe place to live out their days without having to struggle to survive. The population of the wild horses have the potential to double every 4 years, and if left unchecked will continue to deplete their resources, causing irreparable damage to the land. They will end up destroying the land for themselves and other species as well. Horses are not native to the land, therefore other species like pronghorns, elks, birds, and plants are going to be shut out because the wild horses are eating all the sustainable food. Dr. Barry Perryman, a rangeland ecology professor at the University of Nevada, says, any population of unmanaged large herbivores in an area, even if it's 1 million acres, without predators can ultimately cause vegetation damage. The BLM gives examples of how other large herbivores are managed compared to wild horses and burros. According to the BLM, wildlife species such as deer are usually controlled through a combination of hunting and natural predators. And livestock use on public land is intricately managed and controlled through grazing permits. But because wild horses and burros are protected from hunting, and because a lack of natural predators, their increasing numbers pose a threat to the sustainability of the land. If vegetation is destroyed, the horses will have nothing, and feeding wild horses is normally prohibited because the horses can become reliant on human help. There have been some seasons of drought where the BLM workers have brought water out for the wild horses. Without it, the animals would have died. That was when numbers were smaller, so less traveling and water was needed. In recent years, farmers near the wild Mustang ranges are becoming more upset with the horses in the BLM. These farmers see the wild horses on their land, destroying their crops or eating the vegetation that their livestock could be eating. The horses are eating so much of the land that ranchers can no longer put their livestock on the land without worrying that the wild horses will eat the vegetation, leaving them for the ranchers' animals. In today's society, people view horse management differently than other animal operations. We see horses more as pets than as livestock. In media and reading materials, horses are portrayed not only as companions to humans, but also as part of the family. Media also portrays wild horse roundups as an unnecessary and violent process, when in fact it is done the most humane way possible. In the 1800s, horses were used as a vital part of life. Horses were part of the work when traveling across the country or rounding up other livestock. Horses could no longer work and were lame because of an injury. They were put down and may have been used for meat. Back then, that was a normal part of life. But now, if someone was to put down their horse because of a simple injury, it would be considered sad, terrible, maybe even disgraceful. Horses used to be considered beasts of burden. Cattle, sheep, pigs, chickens, all these animals can be slaughtered. Why not horses? They are all farm animals, and they are all a significant part of the Western American past. Horses are portrayed so differently in media than other livestock that people see them as a glimpse of the past. They have become a symbol of hope in what the Old West used to be like. Horses are a national symbol of freedom in the American West. People see the wild horses and are reminded that the horses play a bigger part in maintaining our history. It is our responsibility to protect the wild horses from exhausting resources and destroying themselves. Leaving their numbers to destroy the ecosystem will ultimately set up other species for extinction. Numbers are rapidly increasing to catastrophic levels. Trump is proposing a 2018 budget plan to allow the BLM to round up more horses and send them to slaughter. In October 2017, the BLM held a National Wild Horse and Burro Advisory Board meeting. Topics mentioned in the meeting were such things as euthanasia, slaughter, and culling. Many fear that we could end up like Australia with an overpopulation of 1 million wild horses. Australia has had to adopt completely different management protocols than what would ever be considered humane here in the United States. Every year, hunters are allowed to shoot the animals down in Australia. In America, if roundups cease to continue and slaughter remains unacceptable, we are setting up the wild horses for a massive downfall, as well as inadvertently supporting devastation to public lands and all that inhabit them. In conclusion, horses are destroying everything around them and need to be managed. Wild Mustang roundups are the most necessary and humane way to keep population levels stable. Today, the Bureau of Land Management has many different solutions to maintaining the wild horse population and has humane ways of keeping the horses happy and healthy. We have discussed that wild Mustang roundups are the most humane way to go on about taking care of the wild horse population. Horse slaughter in the United States has been an issue for the Bureau of Land Management for some time. If horse slaughter were to be reinstated like Trump is proposing, it could save the Bureau of Land Management and American taxpayers a lot of money. Thank you for watching. We hope we have opened your eyes to the positive aspects of Mustang roundups and slaughter.